Sure. They came easy.
Okay. The timer's running. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Especially appreciate Lara and her fine words and the opportunity to come and speak. Um, I would like to say, in memory of the dearly departed Charlie P., for those of you that know the Joe and Charlie stuff, this is the best looking group of sick people I've seen all night. So it is that I find myself, I haven't done any talking in a lot of years. And when she asked, I thought to myself, well, I automatically said yes. But I thought, I haven't done this and I'm out of practice. And so anyway, here I am and just going to tell you the best I know of me and maybe the worst too. But nonetheless, I am in fact a real alcoholic. I like the way in the big book Bill W. distinguishes between potential alcoholics and real alcoholics. And I am in fact a real alcoholic. And I know that because I have no control if I let go of my relationship with the higher power as I understand him. I will be consumed by that mental obsession. I will want to drink. Even though I'm telling myself I don't want to drink, I still get the feeling and I want to drink. That's because of the mental obsession. I'm obsessed with the idea, thinking that I can drink normally this time. I know I screwed up last night, but tonight it's going to be different. And I tried that for a lot of years, and it never was any different in the end years. I had my first taste of alcohol probably, I don't know, in pre-adolescent days when I would sneak it from my parents' bottles of whatever it was that they were drinking. My mother liked slow gin. She liked her slow gin fizzes. And my dad liked the hard stuff, and I would sneak a little bit of that, but I didn't like that so much. That was terrible. I didn't do that very often. And when I became an adolescent, I sat in on a group of people. By the way, I was raised in California. I sat in on a group of people in a big circle outside of a swimming pool, city government swimming pool, and they were passing this bottle of Olympia around, and more than one bottle, mind you. And every time it came my way, I took a drink out of it, just a little swig, and I really didn't like it so much. And that's the first time that I recall that beer getting all squiggly in my nose there. It made my nose fuzzy, and I really didn't like that. And so I never had a lot of a craving for beer or anything or any alcohol for a period of time. But at age 18 in 1964, I graduated high school, and I had an uncle that always talked about going into the service, in the Air Force specifically. So I was planning on going into the Air Force, and I did. And to make a long story short there, I spent 24 years in the Air Force. It was a lifetime, and I'm grateful that I did. However, it was in the Air Force that I learned how to drink. And that was just a way of life. It was in the Air Force, we drank. And I was a jet aircraft mechanic, started out as, and I just enjoyed it. And then I was over in Europe one day. I was stationed in Edwards Air Force Base in California, and we went TDY, temporary tour of duty, over to England, and I got a telegram over there. It's the first time in my life I ever got a telegram. It said that finish up your assignment, come back, you've been selected to go to Vietnam. This is in 1967. And I thought, oh, fine, okay. A lot of people were getting selected to go to Thailand at the time, so I went down and volunteered to Vietnam for the simple reason that they were going to Thailand and not getting combat pay, and in Vietnam we got combat pay. So if I was going to go over to a war zone, I wanted to get paid for it, and I did. Well, I got over to Vietnam, and one of the things that we had was a bar. And when we were off duty, we'd go to the bar and just drink all kinds of different beers, mainly, but there was hard liquor there as well. But I don't know if anybody remembers Burgermeister, but we used to drink Burgermeister over there, and they couldn't sell that at the store, and so they would give it away. And so I drank a lot of alcohol over there, and I got to a point where I was thinking, tonight I really don't want to drink. I just want to have one or two, and that's going to be it. And I would try doing that. I'd have one, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to have another one. I'm not slurring my words yet. And number three would come around, and I would say, well, I really don't want this. I've already had my limit. And so it was that I would force myself for a little bit to not drink. But then that desire to want to drink came upon me so strong, I had to take number three. And then there was number four, number five, all of them. I didn't know why that was. I was drinking against my will, although I didn't know I was drinking against my will. I didn't learn that until I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and found out what Dr. Sipler told Bill W. about mental obsession. A person who has alcoholic tendencies drinks because of this thing that goes on in the mind. He thinks he can drink normally. Well, that was me. I always thought that I could drink normally. But he said once I start drinking, something happens physically. And I didn't realize this. And when I read that and understood in the big book, Doctor's Opinion, about the physical allergy that takes place after I take a drink, the craving begins and I can't stop. Even though in my head I'm telling myself, you've had your limit, don't drink anymore. So I'm drinking against my will again. But now I'm starting to understand why I did that. Okay, so I understand step one, the problem. Step one tells me that I'm powerless. So step two, as I read it, tells me there's a power. If my problem is powerlessness, the solution must be then in power. Step two, came to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. Okay, fine. The question now is, how do I get that power? That's what the next 10 steps are all about, 3 through 12. And that's the way I've learned it from the people that I've dealt with and hung out with, is the process. I have to make a decision. So far, I haven't taken any action. I've made an admission, step one. I've come to believe in step two. In step three, I simply make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand it. Well, that's where I had to take a little stop there. I said, what's my understanding of God? I didn't have a clear understanding of God at that time that would work for me. But I'd been going to, by that time, about a month to AA meetings. I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous in November of 1982. I took my last drink October 12th, 1982. And I haven't found it necessary since that time to take another drink. But it was about a month from the time I got a DUI is what got me here. And to the time that I discovered AA, the guy took me to the AA meeting. I better back up just a little bit to explain how that happened. I was stationed in McChord Air Force Base and in Tacoma there. And I would just come from Okinawa overseas. And I was a flight engineer at this time. I retrained out of the maintenance field and got into the flying field. I became a flight engineer. And I got stationed at McCord, and I wasn't even signed into the squadron yet. I was on leave, and I got a DWI. Would you know that? They instantly grounded me. I wasn't flying. I was paperwork is being drawn up to throw me out of the service. They were going to discharge me, not very honorably, mind you. And a guy from the social action department, that'd be the same as HR, asked me if I wanted to go to an AA meeting. It might help me to stay in the service. I said, yes, let's go. At the time, I had 19 years in. It's at 20 years a person is eligible to retire. And I wasn't going to get right retirement. I said, well, yes, let's go. So he took me to my first meeting out in Spanaway. And Spanaway Hall was a little house on Pacific Highway out there, 166th. And I went, and for the first time in a long, long time, I shut my mouth. I listened to what I had heard, what I was hearing. And people were telling me, sharing their experience, strength, and hope, what it was like for them, what happened, and what they're like now. And so it was that I thought, hey, this is pretty good. But I showed up at that meeting for two reasons. Number one, I wanted the Air Force off my back. And number two, I wanted somebody to show me how to drink right. I didn't come here to stop drinking. I wanted to continue on drinking, but I wanted to do it right. Whatever right is, I didn't want to be an alcoholic. So I went to that and discovered right away that, oh, they say I've got to abstain for the rest of my life. Whoa. Wasn't so caught up with that. And then they said 4 things that you ought to do is get a sponsor, get a home group, get a big book, and get in the service. Those are the 4 things I was taught, not necessarily in that order, mind you. And I did all those. When I did that, my life slowly started straightening out. And I started not knowing, I should say unknowingly, started having a change of attitude and outlook on life. And I think that's what the definition of a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening is. Me coming to grips with the fact that I need to change my ways. I always thought that I could handle my liquor when I was out there drinking. Pardon me. I didn't know how much of a liar, cheat, and a thief I had become, but I was. I would lie and cheat to get whatever I wanted. I would steal if necessary, to get what I wanted. Notice that everything is focused on me. I want this. I want that. I need this. I need that. What I've discovered is my focus needed to change from me to you. Instead of saying, gimme, 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 I want to take, and be a taker, I need to be a giver. I need to learn how to give. I need to ask you, how can I help you? I want to help you. What's the best I can do? And it's been just a wonderful transition in my life to go from somebody who thinks he's a know-it-all to somebody who doesn't know diddly squat. I mean, I know some things, some historical facts about AA, and never liked history in high school, but I certainly love AA's history, and I still learn to this day, some 41 years later, October 12th to be 41. I still love AA. I still learn about AA and what goes on in AA, the history, how it got made. For example, one of my favorite things, and I've been in love with Alcoholics Anonymous literature forever, hardly since first day, I want to say. But some of the best information you'll ever read about Alcoholics Anonymous is in the so-called free literature, the free pamphlets. There's nothing free in Alcoholics Anonymous. Somebody's buying it. The group is buying it, but they give it away. And the general belief by the fellowship is. Well, that's free stuff. That's just free stuff. I don't need to look at that. But I'm here to tell you, if you pick up any of those pamphlets, some of the best information to know about AA can be found there. One thing that comes to my mind right now is the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, P53. It's on page 13 in P53. You'll read about Dr. Bob, and he said, our stories didn't amount to much at the time, but we didn't have the 12 steps, we didn't have the 12 traditions, but most of the stuff us older alcoholics believed in came out of the Sermon on the Mount, Book of Matthew, chapters 5 through 7, came out of 1 Corinthians, I think it was chapter 12, that's the so-called love chapter, and the Book of James. Where's all that stuff located? In the Bible. I'm in firm belief that AA is given to us, all mankind, through each of us from God. That's how we got to going, I think. And he chose Bill W. As part of the series to get it to us today. Prior to him, of course, if I can remember, I got old age stuff coming on. And a lot of times there's names I want to remember and I don't remember them. Before Bill W., there was Hazard. Roland Hazard went over and saw Jung. I think God chose Jung and Hazard to take the word to Ebby, who took the word to Bill, and Bill took it to Bob, and that's how we got the ball rolling. They got the ball rolling, and that's what we have today. And each of us in here is another step closer to somebody else that's not here yet to help them. And that's how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And I'm just so grateful to God, as I understand God. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be up here, tears in my eyes. Please forgive me. There's something else I'll tell you about this forgiveness business. I did a lot of damage to a lot of people. Lately, we've been talking about 10 more. Holy moly. Okay, lately I've been going to meetings where we're talking about step 9, where we make amends to the people we've harmed in our past. And in a minute, I'll think of where I was going with that. Oh, I used to, when I was making amends to people, used to think, well, all I got to do is go and say, I'm sorry to this person. And that's it. I've done my part. I'm sorry. I screwed up. I did this and I did that. And I'm just to let you know that I didn't mean to really hurt you. And that was it. As far as I knew at that time, I had made my amends. But I got to thinking, and God struck me, I think, through the Holy Ghost. Don't mean to be too religious here. But mind you, he struck me with the thought that, amends is trying to improve the past between people and other situations. To me, to apologize and stop right there is not improving the past situation. What I have to do, and I've finally learned how to do this, is ask you to forgive me. That didn't come easy for this drunk. I didn't like to tell you, I messed up, and I wish that you will forgive me for it. But that puts the ball in your court. And when that happens, then it's a two-way thing. And we do improve our situation with one another. I learned how to make amends with my father after he passed away. I tried several times by driving over to driving over to Idaho where he lived to make amends with him after I sobered up. And I would be talking about something and try to ease into some form of the past. And he said, "Oh, that's history. That's in the past. I don't want to talk about that." And I thought, okay, I'm not going to force the issue, and I did it. And he was very mean to me when I was growing up. And the reason was because I wasn't doing his will. I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do. So he had this razor strap, and he used to use it on me pretty regularly. And I despised him for a long time. After I learned how to make amends by asking your forgiveness, I did the same thing with him. After he passed away, I asked him to forgive me. And I had an overwhelming feeling that everything was going to be okay with him, between he and I. And if he were here today, I'm sure that we would be able to get along. When I used to resent him vehemently, and that's not the case anymore. I love the man. He did the best that he knew how as a father. My mother didn't. My mother was a good woman as well. She loved me, and she did a lot of things for me, and I didn't respond very kindly to her. And I asked her prior to her death if she would forgive me, and she did. And that was just one of the beautiful things that happened in my life once I learned that I was the problem. And I need to take action to improve myself, to better myself. I can't sit around and wait for somebody to do it for me. I have to do it myself, with God's guidance, mind you. That I got to do it by myself attitude was what carried me all through alcoholism, active alcoholism, being selfish and self-centered. Today, I try to get God's guidance in things, and I pray a lot, asking Him for guidance and strength, the power to carry it out. In step 11, we seek through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. Praying only for, tells me exactly what to pray for, only for knowledge of His will for me. You want me to do that? And the power to carry it out. Okay, I need your strength. That's it. And I apply that to my life on a daily basis. And life has just improved in my world a whole lot. I want to talk just a little bit about South End Bookstore. It's a little room in the South King-Alano Club located in Auburn, Washington. It was started by a fellow named Mike many years ago, probably, I'm going to say 25, maybe 30 years ago, and in Auburn. And it used to be wherever Miracle Hall was, that's where the bookstore would be. And Miracle Hall got moved around a few times, and they charged two different prices for the books. When meeting was going on, it was charged one price. When there wasn't any meeting, they changed the price and raised it a little bit. I think they raised it a bit. And it was all confusing and everything. And Mike stepped down, and he had been doing it for quite a while. And I was at a point in my life where I had retired from the Air Force, and I started doing it. But I thought to myself, where can I be centrally located, the bookstore, be centrally located in the south end of King County, and not in an AA place like a hall? And the thought came to me, Kent Commons. So I went to Kent Commons and asked them about renting a room there, and they said, sure, we got one. And so I went to the Seattle Intergroup, and asked them about it. I told them about what I'd found, and they said, "Sure, we can do that." It was, I think, $47 a month or something like that at the time, and that's where it started out. And I found some the bookshelves that we have today. I found them at a thrift store there in Auburn, and policed them all up, and so we got all these bookshelves and filled up all the bookshelves with AA only conference approved literature. It's AA conference approved, except a little section where Seattle Intergroup's got some stuff too. So we got Seattle Intergroup stuff, S1, S2, S3, etc. And I've been managing it. I managed it for about 7 years from that point on, and then I started doing something else, helping another person with her business, and Mike took it back over. And Mike did it for a little while, and he was getting sickly, and somebody else took it over, and he passed away, and then it came again where my situation was that I could take it back over, and I've been doing it again since I'm some 20 years now. And so I've been involved in the bookstore down there for over 30 years, all told. And I'm always looking for volunteers to come in and do 4-hour shifts. We're open 2 4-hour shifts a day, Monday through Friday, and Saturday a 4-hour shift from 10 till 2. We're open 10 till 6 Monday through Friday. Always looking for volunteers to come in to just practice preaching, or not preaching, practice giving, making themselves available to other people. And it's been wonderful. The club is on the rebound now, like a lot of the clubs are, I think. Bob and I were talking about it earlier. The Bellevue Club is getting better, and the South King Alano Club is getting better. Attendance is starting to pick up at the meetings, and as a rule, consequently, money is starting to flow in, and people can start coming and buying things. So I'm always looking for volunteers at the South End Bookstore. If you know anybody that lives down the South End, or if you want to drive down the South End, I'm always looking for you to come and help out down there. And I just don't know what else to say other than I love each and every one of you, simply because you're drunks. We identify. And so it is. I want to thank Lara once again for inviting me, and I think my time has just about run out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.